Guys, I'm going to share with you probably one of my biggest tips for building bigger quads. And whilst I've put many different tips out in the past, this one you really need to nail down. I've talked about where you place intention on the quads, how you actually execute certain exercises. But something that I've not really covered in great detail, which is what I want to do today, is actually knee flexion. And relative to that, we've got dorsiflexion as well. So what are they? Well, we've got knee flexion here. Now, the quad muscles, apart from the rectus femoris, attach up onto the top of the femur, trochanter, into here, okay? Whereas the rectus femoris attaches higher up over the top of the hip, all right? So they also insert down into the patella tendon, okay, or the quad tendon attaches into the top of the patella. So what that basically tells you is, as you flex the knee, the patella pulls down. And as that pulls down, you get this loading of the quad muscles. So therefore, the less knee flexion that you get in a leg press, or in a hack squat or a squatting movement, the less overall stimulation you're going to get in the quad muscles, all right? So what tends to happen a lot of cases with a lot of people, they want to lift more load. They want to go heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And what you tend to see is they slowly move their feet placement further and further away, to the point where you'll often see them on the hack squat in this position here. It's a short range of movement, all right? Now, when it comes to bodybuilding and building bigger muscles, we want to try and get as many of the muscle fibers from as many different ranges stimulated as possible. And one of the ways you're going to be able to do that when you do certain exercises is to get as much knee flexion. Now, I've talked about proximal, which is the muscle closest to the midline of the body, and then you have the muscle distal, which is further away. So we've got the muscle fibers distal and we've got the muscle fibers proximal. So the more that we can get this leg extended for something like the leg extension, the more we're going to be able to train the rectus femoris and a lot more of the muscles into this shortened position. In order to get the muscles in a lengthened range and train more of the distal fibers, we're really going to want to be able to get more knee flexion. So when you see a lot of people, guys and girls, placing their feet so that they get a 90-degree angle, they're trying to make the exercise a little bit easier for themselves. Now, it is all relative to the length of your femur and your tib and fib, but for some people it may not be the best exercise. So you might find over the years that, you know, I've always gone down, but I've never really felt my quads as much. But then other exercises that allow you to get more actual knee flexion, at the end of the session you're like, wow, that's really getting me. And this is something that I've worked with over the years. If you're continually trying to get stronger and stronger and stronger without paying the attention to muscle recruitment or the actual length of the muscle you're trying to train, you will always try and move away from the pain. It's very humbling for most people when I say, in order to get better quad development, I want to try and get a bit more knee flexion, because after all, the more knee flexion we're going to be able to get, the more overall quad recruitment we're going to get. So if I set somebody up in the hack squat and they immediately choose this comfortable position, they're going to get less loading on their quads as they would if they were able to keep their feet flat by getting this amount of knee flexion, still being able to drive through the floor, driving back, and then you've got a full loading of the quads. You'll get a lot more lateralis recruitment, because as we come down, there's a lot more recruitment, especially of these lower fibers here, and especially around the VMO. If you're continually trying to get through here, you're going to get less quad recruitment. So in a lot of cases, something like a front squat with your heels elevated, you can't see this, but we've got the pendulum or paramount squat to the left. If you're training the quads, try and get more knee flexion. Of course, when you hit something like the leg press to my right, you're going to be able to get less knee flexion, but you can try and get more knee flexion by bringing your feet a little bit lower, which is actually going to get more stimulation through the kneecap, knee joint, and so long as you are in control of the muscle, you're going to control more of the quadricep muscle fibers. It's a tip that not a lot of people give people. You know, they just say, look, if you want big legs, use the hack squat. Big legs, use the leg press. It is all very dependent to the person and their mechanics. But if you can get more knee flexion in exercises, you are going to be weaker there. But spend time there, build the weight up, and I promise you, that's a really, really key area if you want to bring up your quad muscles.